Hey, I'm glad you could join me here having some fun with the Moog Muse, making some patches, some music, and explaining some of the features on it as we go along. I hope you'll subscribe and hit the bell for all, and at the end, I'll wrap it up and tell you what I think about it. This is a really great feature on the Muse, the mod map. So now all 16 of these buttons are different mods that you can do. So if you're familiar with the Aphex Twin track, Mount Saint Michel, you know that sound. And it's very easily done on the Muse right here. So I suspect the way Aphex Twin did it was to go into the Juno and take a screwdriver and individually tune each oscillator. Well, there's a feature on here, random trig, and then you can set the amount. So you can go from that to kind of a micro tuning sound. If I put it on there, you don't really know what note's going to happen. Take away some of that release so you can hear what's going on here. I can also get that frequency jump using LFO1. So the LFOs on a lot of keyboards, including my Juno X, do not work right. So if you set an LFO on 0 rate, so it's not moving, and then you put it on random LFO, well, you should get a random voltage out of it every time. I mean, that's the way the classical sample and hold would work. And that is the way sample and hold works in like a Eurorack or whatever. But for some reason, some keyboards don't work that way because they're not re-triggering and resampling the noise so that they get a different voltage every time. So, but if you take this LFO and you choose the random waveform and put it on keyboard reset, it will resample noise every single time. And since each oscillator has its own LFO, you can hold down one and these random notes won't affect that note. And so that is fantastic. That's much better than like my Juno X, where with the same settings, you do not get a random LFO every time you hit the key. So now if I hit this little triangle, you can get a menu on the LFO, and it tells you something about it. So it has sync. So I could sync that LFO up with the tempo. Sync type, combo, straight, trip, dot, because you have your different sections. You get your different LFOs, oscillators, mixer, arpeggiator, sequencer, filter section, programmer, envelopes. It's all laid out very well. Or it kind of reminds you of another time when things were a little more modular, and where they really just took the modules and connected them together for you. So I could easily make that Acid 04 patch, run that to the filter frequency, and as you're going through the destinations, it kind of goes left to right. So here I've done the Acid 04 patch, and I've run the LFO1, the sample and hold LFO, and run it to VCF2 cutoff. I'm using the diffusion delay as a bit of reverb. PBS logo sound. So the PBS logo has a little flourish there at the end. And I'm going to accomplish that using Aftertouch. So over here with the signable controllers, if I click AT, it says source Aftertouch, destination, the filter. I start turning it, it automatically puts the filter in there. Yeah, now I can get that little filter opening at the end. I can use this filter envelope to do my falling pitch. So I can hit the little triangle there. So I'm going to go mod map number 2, and I'm going to run the filter envelope, VCF envelope generator, and I'm going to run that to the pitch, oscillator pitch of oscillator 1. Well, I've owned just about every notable synth since 1990, and I would rank the Moog Muse near the very top of the list. It does sound very fat compared to many of the digital synths that I've tried. Mine has a little problem with the vinyl, as I showed in another video, where it has some air bubbles under it, but I'd still rank it very highly because I love the sound of it. And I love the way everything's laid out and works so well. And it has a sequencer like every modern synth should have. And a delay that can also sound a little like reverb. If I could design it myself, I think I would put a silk screen on the front panel instead of the vinyl. And I'd put in the typical effects that I always need to hook up. So I'm talking about 3 basic effects pedals that I always use over and over. Modulation, delay, which this has, and reverb, which this sort of has. You can use the diffusion delay to get kind of a reverb sound. So the modulation effect would give you phaser, flanger, chorus, and delay effects typically have these extra settings, you know, where you can set it to tape delay and things like that. And then reverb, it has to be actual reverb. So for this one, I'll have to use my modulation pedal and my reverb pedal. And unfortunately, those effects won't be saved with the patch. So if manufacturers could start making synths with just those 3 effects, it would be a dream come true. I'm glad you could join me here having some fun with the Muse, and I'll see you in the next video.